There's a drive way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Here's your host, Jeff and Sean.
Hey, Cub fans. Welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. I'm your host, Jeff Rogowskis, a.k.a. Candy Cubs. With me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Sean, Hot Stove Cubbies Chapin. Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Unlike the negativity on social media around the Cubs, you know, I've been trapped in that vacuum recently, it seems like. But today I'm choosing to look at the optimistic side of things. The Cubs are 22-16 on the season. And a lot of that's not including their ace, two impact offensive players. Suzuki's looking great, by the way. Julian Merriweather, an average Kyle Hendricks, and an awful bullpen. When you break it down, it's truly remarkable where they're at right now.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. You're just looking at the injuries that they've had to endure and key parts of this lineup just disappearing, and they're winning baseball games. It's, you know, how you can win. You've got to win baseball games
Exactly.
in different ways, and it's been nice to see them winning baseball games. But yeah, tough slate coming up this weekend with Pittsburgh, mainly because of the matchups, not necessarily because Pittsburgh's hot or anything. And then immediately after that, we have the Braves, which we'll get into later. Just a tough situation for the Cubs as they are struggling offensively.
Yes, and you know, with Dansby, you know, the news coming out about his knee explains a little bit. I know he's a streaky hitter anyways, but Suzuki can't come back quick enough. He looks so good at Iowa. So let's just get on the healthy mend, and hopefully your next box score blitz is all W's.
Yeah, that would be nice to see. It'd be a tough stretch to do it, but I would absolutely take all W's for next week's box score blitz. But without further ado, let's do this week's box score blitz to go over very quickly the games it happened since we last spoke to you guys. So, no box score blitz. You're not going to sing today? Oh, I'm
not
sad.
Today. I wasn't feeling it because of all the L's.
That's fair. Well, let's put time on the fake clock. 3, 2, 1. Game 1 versus the Mighty Brew Crew. The first series versus Brew Crew this year. Wes-Nasty versus Joe Ross. Remember last week when Sean called him Cy Ross because I kept calling him Tyson Ross? He's like, well, now he's going to have a really good start. Guess what? He did have a really good start. He shut down the Cubs in this game. They did not look good offensively. They got a solo home run from the best smile in baseball, Mr. Christopher Morel. Wes-Nasty looked Wes-Nasty. 6.1, 3 scattered hits, and 8 strikeouts in this game. But they brought in Alzolay, and he gave up the lead. The Cubs lose this one 3-1. Very frustrating game. A lot of people want to blame Alzolay, but at the end of the day, scoring one run is not going to win you many baseball games. Game 2, May the 4th be with you. If you haven't checked out our special Star Wars episode, this is a nice plug to check out our special Star Wars episode. It was a lot of fun to do. It's a little longer, but I bet you're going to enjoy it, especially the special box score blitz. So last week, Sean said he didn't want to lose to a guy named Tobias, and guess what? The Cubs listened to him. Nico started the offense very, very quickly. Nico, we go with a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first inning. Morel, 2 days. He's got 2 days, 2 taters. This one was 109 miles per hour off the bat, 430 hefty feet. The Cubs were up 3-0 early. We had our first whiz dog of the year. I love whiz dog. Tyone was sharp again. He was 6-inning pitch, 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, only 7 whiffs. The location has been really solid. He's been limiting barrels, and so it's really good. Things get pretty scary for the 7th with a rough outing by Keaton Thompson, his first rough one of the year. The Cubs shut the door barely with a very scary scoop to second base for the force out at the end of the game from Dansby to Nico, which the play was a lot closer than it needed to be. Hector Neris gets another absolutely terrifying save. Cubs wins 6-5. Game 3, the rubber match, Cinco de Mayo, the ass man, Javier Assad. Guess what? He's the first Mexican player to start in Cinco de Mayo in Cubs history. That's pretty cool. This is a tough game for the Cubs. They got Freddie Peralta, that's their ace, but they made him work. He had 6 walks in this game. Cubs go up with a double by Nico Wigo. He scores again on a wild pitch. It's 3-0. Lieutenant Dansby, he hits a home run, even on that bad knee. There's a Morel single. It's 5-0. Almonte and Palencia shut the door. Cubs take the series 2-1, and our friend of the pod, Jake McKibben, gets an ice bath, which I enjoyed. Game 1 versus the Padres. Starfish versus Justin Steele. Justin Steele is back. He didn't pitch long. He probably
Hooray!
had a pitch limit, 4.2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 walk, 2 Ks. Nice start. Didn't look like he had the best control, but he's working his way back. The fact that he got 4.2 after being gone as long as he was excellent. Lovelady comes in and he's not loved, he's loveless. He gives up a bunch of runs. Him and Valencia give up 6 runs. Cubs get a few chances to get back in the game. Morel hits a 2-run bomb, his 3rd home run to the homestand. Gas money. Yan Gomes hits a bomb, but the Cubs still lose this game 6-3. Game 2 in this series. Imanaga versus Randy Vasquez. He was part of the return action in the Soto trade, just in case you want to know. Well, and guess what? Cody Bellinger is back from injury. He hits a belly bomb in this game. He's 3-for-4 in his return. Cubs really needed the bat. Imanaga was brilliant again. 7 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. A late home run on a low splitter by Profar tied the game. Rain starts pouring, my heart starts stirring. Fastball up, Bush, my bay, has a walk-off home run. Nice to see him take that high fastball out of the park as the rain and the lightning was coming. 1 pitch, done, no rain delay. Cubs win 3-2. Game 3, this is not much to talk about. Cubs get dominated by their old prospect Dylan Cease. The offense ceased to exist. See, there's a pun there. That's
beautiful.
why I slowed down. Yeah, there was only 1 hit in this game. It was by Yan Gomes, the known speedster, and it was an infield hit. Wes-Nasty was Wes-Nasty again. He had 6 innings pitched. He had 3 runs. He had 1 walk and 3 Ks, but it was a very tough day when you're only getting 1 hit support. Cease had 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 12 Ks. Cubs lose 3-0. That finishes a 3-3 homestand, and that is the box score blitz.
Way to go! Hooray!
So yeah, not a terrible homestand. You know, it's 500. The Cubs are still kind of serving course at home. Very frustrating series versus the Padres. Weird that they're done with the Padres already, given that
that's really strange.
they still haven't played most the NL Central at all. So the Cubs will only see the Padres again if they see them in the playoffs. But yeah, we got the front of that rotation. Joe Musgrove obviously got put in the DL, but we saw the front of that rotation again. And Dylan Cease has just had the Cubs number. He's a very good pitcher. Man, I wish the Cubs would have entertained getting him, but I'm sure the price would have been a premium given it would have been a trade from the south side to the north side.
Yeah.
So Sean, what are the hot stove standings?
Yeah, so we got the Beers are in first with a 21-15 record. The lovable winners are 22-16. That would be the Cubs. The Andrew McCutchen non-braids are 17-21. Scott Rowland with the homies is 16-21. That's not the Cardinal Scott Rowland. That's the Red Scott Rowland. St. Louis is boring, sitting at 15-21. And awful for Wilson Contreras. My gosh, I just feel bad for him.
That was a very interesting play too. Not to go on a diatribe, but just watching all the stuff about where he was set up and
they wanted him to set up further. And that happens.
This is a new trend too, which makes me wonder if there should be some sort of rule to address where a catcher can set up for the safety of the catcher. I know that they're like, while we still have umpires, it apparently is a tactic to get low strikes called. But yeah, he was on top of him. No wonder he got blasted. Get well soon, Willie, friend of the Cubs forever. But just terrible.
Yep. That's awful. Also a team that is awful, which is really weird, is the D-backs are 7.5 games out of first. That is incredible to me. That team loaded with talent that, made it to the World Series last year are 7.5 games out of first. And then another big surprise, the Phillies are the best team in baseball.
Yeah, they've pitched pretty well. Their bullpen has been pretty solid, and they've got a bunch of stars there that can carry a team when they get hot, including Mr. Bryce Harper. So it's not a crazy surprise, but that rotation in the front end with Noah Wheeler has looked really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the Hot Stove box score standings, and I believe you have our first topic of today.
Yeah, actually, today I wanted to talk about Hayden Wes-Nasty, especially as we see some guys get healthy and kind of figuring out what his role is in this year's Cubs team and what he's done this year and how it's different compared to last year. Last year's narrative was about lefties. Everybody knows that. If you've followed the Cubs at all, Hayden Wes-Nasty had a really tough time getting lefties out. They
Yes.
slugged 617 versus him in 2023.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that's like just getting
I didn't even know it
blasted.
was that high.
Yeah, I when I was doing the research on this, I was actually shocked. I was gonna guess it was in like the low fives or high fours because that's still getting rocked on a pitcher's perspective. But yeah, that is bad. So he struggled versus lefties. So it's interesting because I was trying to figure out, well, what is he doing differently? Because the numbers are dramatically different than last year. This year versus lefties, he has a slugging of 225. That's just such a huge improvement.
Yeah, it
So
is.
what are we looking at? What's his pitch mix changed? Well, I took a look at pitch mix versus lefties, and early on, he is using his fastball significantly more against lefties. 39% last year, 51.3% this year. So that's a pretty significant jump. And my expectation when I went into looking at this was going to be the changeup because that was all the scuttlebutt going in the
Hmm.
offseason was Hayden Wesneski needs a changeup to neutralize lefties. Well,
Yep.
apparently not because he's neutralizing lefties with his fastball. And the other thing that's super interesting is he still features a sinker from time to time. He's using a sinker less in 2024. The usage is down from 29% to 18%. So I'm sure it has a lot to do with maybe manipulation of the grip of the fastball that's grading out as a sinker, and it's getting a little bit more horizontal movement than the regular fastball. But versus lefties, he has yet to throw a sinker versus lefty this year. So maybe that's the pitch more than the changeup that he was
Yeah.
having issues with lefties last year, because that's a significant change in approach. um, Really, his most valuable pitch, as it was last year, was the sweeper. But the fastball has become significantly more valuable on a grading perspective, which has made the sinker or the sweeper play a little bit better because now he's got 2+ pitches when he's going into these interactions. So, kind of looking at the Cubs bullpen issues, like you'd like to deploy this guy in the bullpen, given the numbers
Yes.
have the short bursts, which I think is very likely to happen as certain guys get healthy. I think that's going to be the question is like Hunter Brown versus Hayden Wesneski, who's going to stay up and give innings in the bullpen. It feels like at times, and maybe it depends on the game situation, if you look at a bullpen with Wesneski, Brown, and Keegan Thompson, that's three guys that are multi-inning type players. So
I
I
like
guess
that.
the
I
question
actually
is,
like all three. All
yeah, I
three in the pen.
yeah, Keegan's been old Keegan again.
Yeah.
He's looked good. He had that one like kind of a buzzer of results, but like it looked like there was some bad pip luck in there. He wasn't getting crushed, but he's looked very solid this year.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess like on a bullpen management standpoint, if you have three theoretical long relievers, like what do you do? Like, like if I guess you could use one a day, but then like if they're throwing a number of innings, they're gonna need rest in between. Like, how do you deploy these guys if they're all long relief? I'm not sure I know the answer to that right now. Obviously, it's something that Jed Hoyer, the front office, and Craig Counsell need to figure out as they try to kind of survive this tougher stretch that they have to end this month. And yeah, I think that the bullpen needs help. Drew Smiley is getting healthy. It'll be
Hmm.
interesting. He has in the past been a long guy, but he was kind of like a lefty specialist for Council early in the year. So maybe he is not the long guy anymore, and you keep a Brown or Wesneski. Um, yeah, Kyle Hendricks obviously is going to throw another rehab start. He looked pretty solid in his first one at Double A, his first one at Triple A. He's going to get one more. It'll be interesting to see kind of where he slots in. I've seen all the scuttlebutt on Twitter about how he's cooked, yada yada yada. And they're like, we just want him in games that are blowouts. Like, well, you're not gonna waste a roster spot with Kyle
No.
Hendricks as a long reliever in the bullpen. You're just not gonna do it. He's not that type of pitcher. If he's gonna get rocked as a starter, it's not like the stuff plays up in the bullpen. And we've talked about this with Michael Cerami. We've talked about it on our own episodes, but yeah, kind of getting back to Hayden Wesneski before I go on too far of a tangent.
Sure.
Um, his sweeper is another pitch he's increased the usage of, and it's a great pitch. It's above average on the vertical and horizontal plane, and he's got more movement than he did last year. So he's increased the usage of that by 11%. So another thing that's caught my eye too is that he's had less horizontal, not significant, but less horizontal movement on the fastball, which I'm
Hmm.
wondering if is a component of it being more effective, like having a little more control, a little firmer, less run, maybe a tightening of that grip, so there's more of a differentiation between the sinker and the fastball. He's not walking a ton of guys, and yeah, the fastball is really the game changer here. So with that being said, like I guess my thought is like I commend Wes-Nasty and what he's done, what he did in that Arizona game on very little sleep and getting called up and kind of finishing
Yeah.
that game out for the Cubs and getting a win in these two spot starts this week where he looked very solid, just a very solid pitcher at minimum. Like I think I want to see him in the bullpen, but the early results are showing a guy that maybe with a little confidence and a little bit of rework of repertoire, is looking like that guy at the end of 2022, where we're like, oh my, like
Yeah.
this guy could be
Immaculate
something.
inning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that guy. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I like the this is a completely new Wisniewski, Wes Nasty.
yes,
So whatever the plan is for him, I really hope he is not. I don't see how you can send down Brown or him at this point, even with Kyle coming back, and having them both in the bullpen. And I like having multiple inning guys. I mean, if you're asking a guy to go 3 innings, I mean that's pushing it to do a back to back start. But I mean, doing, 5 batters or 3 batters or 4 batters, just getting a little over an inning might be something that you can see where they can do a little bit of back to back days or a one day on, one day off. So yeah, that was super interesting about his horizontal movement and him not using the changeup. And I think you might want to lean on Tommy Hotovy for that. I mean, the guy works magic, and this is for another podcast, but I'm scared he's going to get picked up and be a manager next year. So, but that's for another podcast.
yeah, I feel like he in my brain has become one of the most like irreplaceable members of the
Yeah,
bullpen.
for real.
Yeah, he's just like the magic of the Tommy Hotovy like mound visit and how he's been
Yeah.
able to kind of cool down some pitchers, and they seem to do a really good job of just like repertoire shifts and management and pitch development, and he's a big part of all that. That's kind of what his background was in
Hmm.
before he was the pitching coach. And honestly, when they hired Craig Counsell, it was weird that one of my concerns was like, oh, let's please not lose Tommy Hotovy. Like I want them to keep him. They obviously kept him, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's just been so good. Yeah, so I think there's definitely a lot of questions that need to be answered about, how they're going to deploy the pieces they have into the bullpen, as obviously the bullpen continues to be a hot topic on, just their performance. And they haven't necessarily at times been horrible, but like when they are doing well, like Hector Neris just isn't a closer. Like he's been fine.
No,
He's a
he's
veteran,
not.
and he's I feel like has lucked his way out of some situations, and like he's tough. He doesn't seem to get rattled, which is something the Cubs definitely need in a bullpen, and he helps some of the young guys, prepare. But early on, he has not looked super effective. I'm sure that as the year goes on, he might tighten that up. And the Cubs are getting some more length out of their rotation, still undefeated when they get 5.1 out of the starter. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They got their first loss because they got
Yep.
6 innings from Wes-Nasty. So,
Yep.
update to that stat. Their first loss on 5.1 in the starter.
That's amazing.
So, Sean, what's catching your eye? What do you want to talk about this week?
All right, and we don't plan this, but this meshes together pretty well. So I want to start a segment called Hot Stove Cubbies Rumor Roundup. Basically, the segment that I'm going to be doing explores Cubs rumors being discussed, what I'm hearing from my sources over that I've obtained over the years, and moves I would like to see the Cubs make. It's May, so it's early, but we've already seen one large trade with Luis Ariza traded to the
Luis
Padres.
Arias.
Yeah, and I'm so bad at names.
This is a
I'm just
math
gonna
pod,
say
not a
in
pronunciation pod.
right. One of the interesting notes and something that I heard, and then it got put out there, and our friends at Bleacher Nation reported on it, is Jed Hoyer confirmed earlier this week that he had conversations with the Marlins and knew about that trade. It was reported earlier in the offseason that the Cubs were interested in making a deal with the Marlins for both relief pitching and starting pitching. However, given how our starters are doing, I think that's on the back burner. So there is, it's interesting that Jed is making an effort to address the pin in May, because that is going completely out of his comfort zone. I mean, we were so annoyed with how patient he was in the offseason. And honestly, he looks like a genius now, but how patient he was, and to see him going against the grain and start having conversations, and I'm hearing more than just what with the Marlins about addressing the pen, that has my ears perking up there. So now, one of the interesting notes that I heard is the Cubs and Marlins have had talks. There's two players that kind of fit the mold, but not necessarily. I mean, Tanner Scott and Calvin Foucher, or Fushi. I've heard it pronounced both ways. There we go. Now we're a pronunciation pod. Um, I'm gonna go. Foucher sounds better. Foucher is the middle of the pack in exit velocity, whiff percentage, and walks. He has a below average in chase rate. His K rate, hard hit, and ground ball rate all rank in between that 75 and 85%, which is red. And we know one thing: red is good in baseball savant. He's only 28 years old, makes $800K, and he's not arbitration eligible till 2026. So everything on paper looks pretty good. The one thing that's not great is he's got a 3.1 base on balls per nine and a 10.8 strikeouts per nine. So it's not like great, but having a 2.31 ERA, that looks pretty. The walk rate doesn't fit the mold of what this Cubs bullpen needs. And it might not be a sexy name, but I think it's a guy that can absolutely help and won't break the bank in getting him. Now, Tanner Scott, proven closer. Been decent closer for the Marlins for the past 3 seasons. 29 years old, is a free agent after the season, owed $5.7 million. So with that high, I mean, that's not high for a reliever, no doubt, but still 5.7 for what he's putting up. You're going to get a decent prospect, but you're not getting a top prospect for him for half a season. It's not going to happen, especially when he has a 9.7 base on balls per nine rate. Again, not what the Cubs need, but I think some of that is inflated, and he might come back down to, he's never been a guy who's not going to walk somebody, but he has some really, really good stuff. He's a 98th percentile for average exit velocity. His average the batters heading off of him only 83.1 miles per hour.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's so low. Yeah. And his barrel, hard hit, and ground ball percentages are all above average. So when he is hitting the strike zone, he's getting that weak contact, and that's something that I like. And typically I would look at that and say, hey, because of the Cubs' awesome defense, that's going to play well, but they haven't played off of awesome defense so far. So obviously the base on ball percentage is way below. Same thing with his whiff and K rate and chase rate. So I think some of that's going to balance out. Neither one is going to break the bank in the terms of prospect cost. The Marlins earlier in the offseason were looking at Cubs offensive players when discussing any trades. One particular person that they really liked was Alexander Canario. However, I think Canario right now would be too much of a return for Tanner and Calvin. I really believe that. I don't. Where we're at in the off season, I just don't see. I mean, in the season, I don't see them really wanting to to trade Canario, just because he's on the 40 man, and if something happens to the outfield, he is a good guy to have up and down. I mean, he's really, really solid, can play decent defense, and is a guy I don't think they want to trade. However, I do think if the Cubs do make a trade for a bullpen, wherever that may be, they're going to look to try to trade somebody from the 40 man. I don't see them trading from the non 40 man because that makes things really difficult to make moves, designate for assignment and stuff. I think they would actually look at players like a Matt Mervis, a Brennan Davis, or a Luis Vasquez as somebody who they would dangle because they kind of have redundancy in the team right now with those three players. Brendan Davis is a buy low candidate, of course, because he hasn't been healthy, but he does have that prospect pedigree that a lot of teams might look at. And one of those three players, I could see being a part of a package for a Tanner Scott. I did hear talks that are not only very active with the Marlins, but Jed's also exploring with some of the bottom of the barrel teams like the Angels, Astros, White Sox, and Rockies. I did not hear specific names. I can only guess on these. Luis Garcia, big hat tip to the friend of the program, Michael, on this one. He did an awesome write-up on his fit. I love that write-up. I think he's a perfect guy, even better fit than anybody on the Marlins. Seth Martinez and Taylor Scott from the Astros, if they continue to fall, I think they're going to start selling soon. And then, of course, if we want to do a crosstown deal, Tanner Banks, and if we want to just throw fit all the way out the window, Michael Kopech. I mean, if we want a guy who has stuff, 100 miles an hour, yeah, maybe you look at him. But yeah, so that's what I'm hearing on the Cubs rumor roundup. I will report on this as I hear things, and yeah, hopefully you guys like the segment.
Well, personally, I love it. For those who don't know, I did write an article about Sean, which is how we met for Northside Baseball. And in
Yeah.
the past, Sean has broken news, including the Jason Marquis deal, all those years ago when he was blogging as Hot Stove Cubbies. So
I'm
Sean
so
does
old.
have some some sources, and like I think he is humble in sharing the information he gets out of respect for wanting to make sure that that information gets out as accurate as possible. But
Mhm.
really appreciate just sharing that information with us and the brickheads, as the vote said they wanted
I
to be
like it.
called.
Brickheads works.
Yeah, I think
And
when. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and if I am wrong on something, I'll 100% own up to it.
There you
That
go.
is something that I'm genuine like that, not to be so not humble. But yeah, I'm just gonna call it out there. If I'm wrong on something, I'll publicly put it out there. Because if I feel comfortable enough to report on something like this, I'm comfortable enough to say when I'm wrong too. So just calling that out.
Awesome. Love the integrity. This is an integrity pod as well.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of getting things to improve things or getting new things, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Wrigleyville Sports. If you are not aware, and if you haven't been watching, Wrigleyville Sports is our new partner for the podcast, and they have been nice enough to give us a link and a coupon code for you to use. How do you do it? We'll have a link in the bio or a link in our link tree that you need to follow, and use the code BRICKS10. Once again, that's BRICKS10. You'll get 10% off your total cart when you check out. So it's a win-win. You help support our podcast so that we can continue to make content that you potentially love, and you help Wrigleyville Sports and you get new Cub stuff. And they don't just have Cub stuff. They've got Bulls, they've got Sky, they've got Caleb Williams jerseys. So check it out today. And once again, thank you so much, Wrigleyville Sports, for being part of the BBTI family. And with that not sloppy transition, let's do a sloppy transition of series previews. So first up is the Pirates, which was the group that I looked at this week. Pirates have been scuffling. I like this roster a lot. We had that episode with Ethan Smith over on Locked On Pirates earlier in the year talking about the roster, and there was a lot of tidbits in there that have turned into be kind of gold a little bit. Just he had named some players that he had flagged as potentially being an impact, Jared Jones specifically, and that guy has just
Gosh,
been
he's good.
absolute nails. He's
He's
it was
great on
very
the show
impressive.
too. He's
Yeah,
so
he
great on the
is.
show.
He's one of my favorite pitchers to use in the game.
Me too.
It's but yeah, the Pirates are 3-7 in their last 10. They're coming in at 17-21. Um, yeah, it's really been offense, and I've been following Ethan on Twitter to see his thoughts on the Pirates, and I occasionally drop into Locked On Pirates just to get, perspective of other teams in the NL Central. And yeah, the Pirates in that 10-game stretch have hit 163 as a team. Now, before we laugh at that, in the same stretch, the Cubs are at 198. So neither one of these teams are really just
Just
firing on all cylinders
a lot of
offensively.
1-0 games
Yeah,
about to come
exactly.
down.
So, what's the difference? Why are the Cubs winning baseball games in that stretch? Not a ton of baseball games, but winning baseball games. And why aren't the Pirates? Well, the Cubs have a 2.57 ERA in that 10-game stretch, and the Pirates are at 3.66, which is fine. But like the
Yeah.
Cubs are hitting slightly more and pitching a little bit better and squeaking out some wins where the Pirates just haven't had that luck. So,
Mhm.
yeah, this is just a cruel weekend. There's no official announcement of the rotation this weekend, but based on turns and what we know, this one we can predict a little bit better. Where in the second series we're going to be a little more hesitant going forward
Yeah.
as things shift. But on Friday we have Jamison Tyone versus Jared Jones, and
Ooh,
Jones has
man,
been
that's fun.
an absolute stud. He's got .78 whip, 52 Ks and 41 pitches and 41 innings pitched. He's basically a fastball slider guy. He's got a curveball and a changeup that he mixes in there, but that fastball is a power fastball. He gets it up to 97, 89 mile per hour slider. Got a lot of whiffs. He's leading the circuit almost in whiffs. Just an extremely solid pitcher, young guy. Yeah, I think Ethan had projected him as potentially making it to the bullpen, and needing to develop another pitch. Yeah, no, the guy's ready. The guy's been nails, and
Yeah.
he hasn't given up more than 3 runs in the start all year. He's got some quality starts in there. He's got a lot of starts with like 8 to 10 strikeouts. It's gonna be tough, especially with the Cubs scuffling offensively and looking at health and such. Not really looking forward to that. And don't worry, it gets worse. Saturday, the Cubs get to face Paul Skeens in his major league debut, which is
Who is also really good in the show.
yeah, he's very impressive. The touches over 100 on his
Yeah.
velocity. This guy was at LSU, top overall pick. If you follow baseball at all, you've probably heard this guy's name a ton. He's just
Yeah.
run through that system. Really, it's been about as when they were going to use his bullets at the major league level as they built up his stamina because he's been ready. He was an older college player. He is an established college player. He's changed his pitch mix a little bit for the majors, but yeah, he strikes out a guy and he's got just absolutely nasty velocity. The hope is that he's a little wild and the Cubs can be patient, or he throws a lot of fastballs that the Cubs are going to sit on and can get on him early. But if the guy gets settled in, it feels like I remember Jordan Wicks debuting in Pittsburgh last year and like walked, I think it was like the first 3. And after that game, after the Tommy Hottovy magic visit, he was just nails, striking guys out, using his changeup. I feel like if you're going to get to him, you're going to have to play on the nerves. You're going to have to score like right away.
Yep.
I would be super excited for this game as first Javier Assad. I would if we weren't playing Paul Skeens, because as a baseball nerd, I've been following this guy. I've been interested to see how he does in the majors, but yeah, it sucks. Like I'm psyched. There's no sugarcoating it. I'm super disappointed that
Yeah.
that this has to happen for the Cubs. And then it's not like it's worse, but Mitch Keller, guy that's on a team friendly extension, he has been their opening day starter a few years in a row. He faces Justin Steele for Justin Steele's second start. Hopefully, he gets a little more length. Keller hasn't been that great this year. His fastball has been hit super hard. And versus the Cubs, he hasn't been historically that great. He's 4-4 with a 4.99 ERA in 11 appearances. And he did pitch versus the Cubs in a game the Cubs lost. It was like a 13-7 game at the end of September last year. And yeah, at the end of the day, like this is a game that I feel like the Cubs have to win with Steele on the mound and Keller not being solid. But
Yeah.
the analytical jinx, I'm afraid that Keller is going to be solid. But yeah, it's going to be a tough series to steal. It's on the road versus 2 young pitchers with a ton of pedigree versus an offense that is not doing well with parts of it scuffling. If I'm Seiya Suzuki, I have to stay in AAA a few more days. But the
Nah,
Cubs
he's gonna come
really
up
need
and
him.
wreck.
Yeah, yeah. I think like obviously with the off day today, they're probably gonna see how his body responds. I expect him potentially to be activated on Friday.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. That's a tough series. I mean, I have it. I always play it's 14 days out, and this series I had marked down after Skeens was announced as taking one of three. That's what I have on this one. I mean, I'm not very optimistic Cubs fan on that, but um I gotta say that the baseball nerd in me, though, I'm so excited to see Skeens pitch.
Yeah, I'm interested in how it plays in the majors, the velocity and
Yeah.
yeah, I think you know as I saw, I think it was Brendan Miller over from CHGO had tweeted that it was the call up Horton to face Skeens challenge. To just like get Kate Horton up here and prospect on
Yeah.
prospect. But
There we go.
as
I
fun
love
as
it.
that would be, but yeah, maybe for another episode, I'm on the Cade Horton for closer train if they don't
Me
address
too.
the bullpen.
Yep.
I just get like some Mason Miller vibes from that idea. Uh,
Yeah.
not that he throws as hard as Mason. Let's be clear, Mason
No,
Miller.
but stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Before we
mention
move
Mason
on,
Miller. You know I love him.
Mason Miller has broken math. He has a negative fielding independent pitching. Like I never seen it before. So
What?
his his performance would be even better if the ball like didn't ever come play. That's what it's implying. Because the guy strikes so many people out. He's been so dominant. I didn't even know that number could get negative. Like it broke my
No.
brain. I've never seen fielding independent
That's
pitching.
great.
It's negative 0.7. Like,
What
what?
the heck?
Yeah. So Sean, well, after the after the Pirates, do we get a break?
No, we don't. We face the Braves. So we're at the Braves for 3 games. Braves did falter a little bit, getting swept by the Dodgers. You know, they're a super team, so I don't really consider that, world shaking. The Braves are actually an incredibly well-rounded team. I know newsflash, but fourth in baseball in OPS, 10th in bullpen ERA, 12th in starter ERA. They average the fewest amount of errors in baseball per game. So
Oh,
they don't kick the ball around or do anything like that. The big question mark, though, and this is what's really surprising. I don't know if it has to do with injuries and that sort of thing, but the Braves are simply not striking folks out. They rank 28th in all of baseball in Ks, so they're just not striking folks out. Um, we're not going to tackle the probable starters because I got them completely wrong last time. We're just going to throw it out the window, but I will leave you with this. The Braves are monsters at home. They're 13-4 at home. And I'm telling you right now that that is going to be a really tough series. And again, I feel like I'm being optimistic saying we take one of three from the Braves, but I anticipate the next 6 days are going to be really tough for the Cubs against the Pirates and the Braves. Hopefully they change my mind and steal a couple of games there, but this is going to be a tough stretch, and it's not going to help with the negativity in that echo chamber called Twitter either. So yeah, so sad. That was so sad and defeated.
yeah, it's tough. It's interesting. I was looking at just the last 10 days stats for teams and pitching and hitting, and the Braves have not been hitting the baseball much.
Mm.
But a little home cooking and stopping a game for someone joining the 40-70 club, they'll be fine. I don't know why. Look, and not to like dig up old beefs, but I don't know why that bugged me so much because the Cubs were like in the middle of really needing to win a game, and they stopped this game late, and that was when Seiya missed that fly ball like shortly after. Like it was just like they did a video montage, and like it did not feel appropriate. I think Ronald Acuna is an outstanding player. Like, don't get me wrong.
He's
Like,
great. Yeah.
He's an amazing baseball player, and that's such a cool accomplishment. I just felt like the timing was so awkward and so frustrating because, like, I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat hoping the Cubs can pull this game out, and then all the stuff that happened after, and yeah, just weird. Yeah, so first time back since that really awkward. And old friend of Ian Happ, Zach Short, just got traded over there. So a compound reunion for those who listen to Compound, one of my favorite Cubs podcasts. It's it really humanizes the players. I suggest you listen to it, especially next time before you become a keyboard warrior. Like, these guys are people, and baseball is so hard, and it's 90% in my brain, 90% mental. So, like, how these guys like manage it and how they talk about it, it's super interesting. So if you haven't listened to the Compound, I would, no free ads, I would check it out. So that leaves us with another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Once again, you can find us anywhere on social media. You can find us on our new Twitter account, and come check out every day. We'll be playing Immaculate Grid and Immaculate Draft, and you can try to hashtag beat BBTI. And what you need to do is just retweet that you've played and put your score in there, and every time you retweet, you get entered into winning a coming BBTI merch pack, which will have probably a shirt and a sticker. So if you want to do that, go on to our Twitter account, BBTI_pod, and play us every day. And at the end of the month, we'll pick 3 winners. So check that out. And also check us out on Instagram and see our beautiful faces on YouTube. John, any last thoughts before we let the nice people go?
No, we will never let the nice people go. No,
felt like a hostage negotiator.
Yeah, I was like,
would you like to go home?
No, I just leave it with this. Thanks for your support. Everybody that's out there supporting us, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we'll continue to put out feelers out there. If you have any suggestions for the BPTI team, let us know. And because we are a Cubs podcast for Cubs fans by Cubs fans.
Absolutely. That's our catchphrase. And with that, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. And go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
Well, that's going to do it from here, from Bricks Behind the Ivy. This is Harry Carey. We know you've enjoyed the broadcast and the outcome. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this wonderful broadcast that they've done and the podcast going forward. Be sure to also check us out on YouTube and Instagram and whatever else is out there on the airwave. And we want to thank Jeff and Sean for putting this all together and keeping us all Cub fan entertained with their knowledge. I also love to always say that Jeff's last name spelled backward is Sick-S-Ugar. And Sean's is Nipak. My oh my, it never gets old. Well, that's going to do it from here. So from all of us here at Bricks Behind the Ivy, this is Harry Carey saying, go Cubs, holy cow, and so long, everybody.